We know and admire the digital skills of this country and the digital infrastructure that is in place. And if we look at the economy, of course, we have to look at the economy before the war. And there, Ukraine has shown a sound level of deficit of only 2% and a public debt below 50%. This is good too. So Ukraine has already taken important steps on the path to becoming a fully functioning market economy. This is important because, of course, Ukraine has to be capable of integrating into the EU single market. You know that we are working on integrating Ukraine deeper into the single market, for example, in the transport sector, where we have the transport agreement, or we integrate the energy systems further. You might recall that even after the beginning of the war, the Ukraine electric grid has been coupled to the European Union's ones. All these steps are in a very good direction. At the same time, we of course know that further work has to be done. On the rule of law, for example, Ukraine has come far. It has come far in setting up the necessary institutions for the judiciary to function effectively and the necessary institutions on the vetting of prosecutors. The focus should now be on speeding up the selection of judges of the Constitutional Court as well as the members of the High Council of Justice. On anti-corruption, Ukraine also has come far in setting up the necessary anti-corruption bodies. So the focus should now be on the appointment of the new head of the anti-corruption prosecutors and the new director of the Anti-Corruption Investigation Bureau. In other words, the anti-corruption bodies are in place. Now they have to become fully operational. On oligarchs, Ukraine has adopted a bold law against oligarchs, the de-oligarchization law. And in fact, it is the only country of the Eastern Partnership that has done so. This is good. Now here too it is on implementation. We want to see results on the ground. On fundamental rights, Ukraine has achieved to comply with 80% of the recommendation of the Venice Commission. What remains to be done is the adoption of the law on national minorities. So in sum, a lot has been achieved, but of course important work remains. I have discussed all this with President Zelensky and Prime Minister Shmyhal when I was in Kiev around about 10 days ago, and I got a very telling reply by President Zelensky. He said, you know, even if we would not apply for European membership, these are all reforms that are necessary and that are good for the country, and we would have to do them anyway because it's for Ukrainian democracy. Of course, we know that not everything can be achieved as long as a war rages in the country, but many of these issues can nevertheless already be addressed. So, to conclude on Ukraine, we have one clear message, and that is, yes, Ukraine deserves European perspective. Yes, Ukraine should be welcomed as a candidate country. This is on the understanding that good work has been done, but important work also remains to be done. The entire process is merits-based. So it goes by the book, and therefore progress depends entirely on Ukraine. It is Ukraine that has it in their hands, and what could be better to shape your own future. Turning to Moldova, our assessment goes broadly into the same direction as for Ukraine. We therefore also recommend that Council grants Moldova the European perspective and candidate status, on the understanding that the country will carry out a number of further important reforms. In the recent past, Moldova has taken a decisive step towards reforms with a clear mandate from its citizens. It is on a real pro-reform, anti-corruption and European path for the first time since independence. Of course, Moldova still has a long way to go, its economy and public administration in particular require major improvements, but provided that the country's leaders stay on course, we believe that the country has the potential to live up to the requirements. On Georgia, Georgia shares the same aspirations and potential as Ukraine and Moldova. Its application has strength, in particular, the market orientation of its economy with a strong private sector. To succeed, the country must now come together politically to design a clear path towards structural reform and the European Union, a path that concretely sets out the necessary reforms, brings on board civil society, and benefits from broad political support. This is why we recommend to Council to grant the European perspective and to come back and assess how Georgia meets the number of conditions before granting its candidate status. So finally, to conclude, on these three opinions, we did a thorough assessment, and this is laid out in the now public three opinions. This is a very solid basis of facts and evidence to move forward. And building on this basis of evidence is, of course, a historic and a political momentum. And we all know that Ukrainians are ready to die for the European perspective. We want them to live with us the European dream. Thank you so much for the moment.
Thank you very much. Mrs. President, Commissioner, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Just to complement what the President has just explained to you, as you have seen in the midst of these very turbulent times, three of our partner countries have decided to send a very clear message to us and to the world. Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia want to join the European Union. They have expressed very clearly and loudly their own will, which is that they consider the European Union and membership in the European Union to be the most important and most reliable tool for their own peace, stability and prosperity long term. Now it is for Europe to show that this is a reality. So it is obvious that in this new geopolitical context, Europe has also reassessed the importance of its own unity and the importance of the enlargement policy. We have treated these applications very seriously, but not as business as usual. We have been working very hard, and we have done our utmost to deliver as fast as we can and respond to the Council, which has asked the Commission...
Right, for all our viewers tuning into WION World is One right now, this is big news for Ukraine, which of course has been eyeing EU candidacy for quite some time now. That was Ursula von der Leyen previously speaking and essentially throwing her support behind Ukraine's EU candidacy bid. She says that Ukraine deserves membership into the European Union. She lauded Ukraine's electoral system. She also said that Ukraine should be welcomed as a European country. I'm quoting her now, "A lot has been done and a lot needs to be done. The entire process is merit-based, so it's in Ukraine's hands to shape its future." That is what the EU Commission President has now said. She also added that Ukraine has clearly shown commitment to live up to European values and standards. And essentially, she has now recommended membership into the European Union for Ukraine, something that President Zelensky has been asking for, demanding for months now.